Welcome back to the San Diego Opera Podcast. I'm Nic Reveles, your host, and today I'm delighted to have soprano Sara Gartland with us, who's playing the role of Gretel.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I should say welcome back because you were our Musetta in La Boheme in 2015.
Yes.
So that's 5 years ago.
I know.
What's been going on?
I've had a baby since then.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
I know. A lot of life has happened in the last 5 years.
That's great.
It's good. So I have a 4-year-old, almost 4.5-year-old now.
Wow.
And yeah.
So you were practically pregnant? Maybe not quite pregnant.
Literally, we got pregnant in February. So yeah, we know. But the thing is, I delivered him at 27 weeks. So I delivered him in August.
Oh
His due date was November. I delivered him in August.
That same year?
That same year. Yeah, it was crazy. So I was here, and then we found out in February we were pregnant, and then we delivered in August, and we should have delivered in November. But so he came 3 months early. He was 1 pound, 11 ounces.
Oh my gosh.
He's our miracle.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about your career, but heck.
Both are important.
Yeah, I do know that you've sung Rusalka, I think is.
Yes. She's one of my favorite roles.
I just adore that opera. It's so gorgeous. We've done it a couple of times, as I told you the other day when we met.
There's another, Grimm's fairy tale that's been turned into an opera and is fantastical and luscious in orchestration. Totally different composer, different language and everything, but it lends itself so beautifully to the stage.
It really does.
Yeah.
And less complicated, I think, musically, than this opera, than Hansel and Gretel.
In many ways.
I find, as a pianist, I've been having to learn some excerpts from the opera to do at outreach events and education events. It ain't easy.
No, you're supposed to be a
really
whole Wagnerian orchestra in your hands on that piano.
Yes,
I know
it's really complicated. There are all the... Wait, I decided this, the more I thought about it, and this is for you folks, but it's also for us, all of the tunes themselves, the melodic content is very simple. They're all very diatonic. They're sort of based on folk songs, and in fact, some folk songs are actually used in the score.
Yes.
I see good old Englebert sitting down at his desk or his piano and thinking to himself, no, I can't just let this be as simple as it sounds. We have to
I'm sure.
We have to add this, or we have to add that.
We have to put this dissonance and yes.
And inner voices, and it gets quite complex.
Oh yeah, it is. We were just having a discussion about something that is a tricky little corner in Act 3, and Maestro said if only we could call up Mr. Humperdinck and ask, because we're like, what were you trying to do right there? It's a little confusing.
What were you thinking?
Yeah.
Well, along those lines, because we know the story of Hansel and Gretel so well, and we think, at least, that we're very familiar with them, they can tend to come off, these two characters can tend to come off as cartoon characters or two-dimensional. And I wanted to explore that actually both with you as the Gretel and with Blythe Cassert, who's our Hansel, because we only hire the most intelligent and highly talented singers in the world, in the universe, to be here. So I don't doubt that you've probably plumbed the depths of Gretel and found character flaws, perhaps, or you've built perhaps a backstory for her. Who is Gretel and what is she about?
So I think she is the older sister to Hansel. I know it can be played in different ways, but I think she's the older sister. I think that she's... Well, in some productions I've seen where, both she and Hansel come from a sort of a dysfunctional, at the very least, family household, but potentially could be in a very abusive household situation. So you see both of those. But regardless, Gretel knows that there is discontent within the family because she sees her parents are stressed. Mom is stressed all the time. There's never enough to eat. There's never enough in the house. They're wearing the same clothes, all the socks that she has to fix. I mean, there's a lot of woe in that household. And I think Gretel's answer to that is to try and do everything right. to be the good girl.
She's the pleaser.
She's the pleaser.
Yeah.
Hansel, and Blythe will probably speak to this, but I think Hansel kind of rages against that. Not in a ragey way, but he's naughtier. He pushes the boundaries more, probably because Gretel is always doing good or doing right.
This rings a bell with me because I was the best little boy in the world.
Yeah.
Were you the best little girl?
Yes, very much. And in fact, for me, it was different. And if my older brother ever watches this, don't get mad at me. But my older brother was very much a troublemaker. And my response to that was to never, ever do anything to have mom and dad be mad at me.
Oh.
So that's how I feel Gretel is. And I think she's very... And then you see she's very sassy and she's very bossy. She puts mom on, and I think kids do that. You know, they mirror back what they see from their parents out into the world.
Sure.
And so Gretel definitely does that, where Hansel's more of the free spirit, and he's just, whatever moves him, that's what he goes with.
Yeah.
I'll let Blythe speak to that, but that's how I see their dynamic. And it is constantly pushing Gretel to be the big sister and the rules follower, and making sure that they go and they get the berries that mom sent them to find, and they need to get right home, and of course that doesn't happen.
Right. Well, and I've always been struck by the fact that it's this little girl who saves the day in the end. The
it really should be called Gretel and Hansel.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, a movie is opening.
Oh, I saw this. It's like
Almost
next weekend.
immediately.
Yes.
Next weekend. That is called Gretel and Hansel. I'm sure that's the take that they're...
Because she does rescue Hansel.
Yeah.
She does save the day. She uses her wits. And
it's the children's agency in this story that I think is so wonderful. No one comes... I mean, they get 14 angels to come out and protect them, and they get the Sandman and the Dew Fairy and all this help. But when it comes to the witch...
They're alone.
All those guys go.
I know, and I love it at the very end. Mom and dad saunter in, and they're like, "Hey, there they are. They're okay." And it's like, you have no idea the journey we just had, but because they are going through this journey together, and even if they argue or they play or they get scared, they still always have each other. Yeah. I'm one of 4 kids, so I understand the feeling of like having your siblings with you, and that. Yes, Gretel uses her brain to get them out of the most dramatic situation, which is being captured by the witch, and she's pretty awesome.
It really is rather brilliant.
Yeah.
How this whole thing is built. Well, thank you for enlightening us.
Yeah.
And I'm so delighted. I've been having so much fun occasionally watching you guys rehearse, and you're all involved in puppetry.
There's so many puppets. There are birds. There's a bog deer. The pieces of the set move.
Yeah.
There's the witch is a huge puppet.
Oh yeah,
red with an ogre face. It's pretty
so
fantastic.
Great. So looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, my pleasure.